Chris Gore returns to Midnight's Edge in the morning. Hollywood's on strike, but the box office seems to be back. And there's some more Game of Thrones. Does anybody care? We're going to talk about that and a whole heck of a lot more because we have one of our favorite human beings here. That's right. Chris Gore is in the house. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Tom. Thanks for inviting me back. I'm still in pre-coffee mode, so I'm booting up as we speak.
No worries. Yeah. We'll try and charge you up here a little bit.
Cool.
We also have with us until Andre gets here anyway. We have Paulie with us as well. How you doing, Paulie? Good morning.
Doing fantastic. I'm still here on the East Coast. Soaking it up as much as I can in the Mexican Ironman fortress of tortilla solitude.
Yeah.
That's great.
And while you're bathing in salsa, we are going to talk to Chris about all things Hollywood because we love having Chris here. We can't get enough of him because he's got such a plethora of things to talk about when it comes to movies, from independent to studios to whether or not what he would do if he run a studio himself, as I saw a video dropped yesterday from Film Courage and is being pretty popular right now along with some of your other stuff. And you're always doing some really neat stuff. So it's always fun to talk to you about what you got going on besides what's going on in Hollywood. If I could talk myself this morning.
Well, thanks, Tom, for your kind intro. I'm happy to be on with Paulie too. Really appreciate his insight. So
exactly. And there's Mr. Chickle Trunk says, "Fuck them reboots."
Well, whenever I do those interviews, I feel like they always catch me when I kind of get angry about stuff because to me the decisions are so obvious about things. You know, it's which is why which I think sort of fuels the kind of nerd rage that you see a lot. Here on YouTube is it's like these decisions are so obvious. Why could you not have made the most obvious decision rather than a thing you think that people are going to accept? So bizarre.
Yeah. Well, and this is funny that this, I don't know when you did this interview, but like, it's funny that this dropped not only, but like 2 or 3 days after this whole Melissa McCarthy thing where she's out there going, "I don't understand why people don't like reboots and remakes." It's like, you should. It's like, and not only that, like I always point out, we grow up, our generation grew up in the video age, right? Like we were the first kids to have cable in the household. We were the first kids to have VCRs. We actually were able to relive these movies every single day of our lives. We know Ghostbusters from beginning to end. We know these movies. We know the Thing and Total Recall and all these ones that have been rebooted and remade over and over again. And they wonder why we don't like them. It's because we know the originals by heart, right?
Right.
Back in the day when they would remake a lot of movies, chances are not a lot of people were familiar with them because even television didn't show a lot of movies over and over again. And most people only had like 2 channels. So this is kind of like we live in a day and age where you got a very big hurdle to get over when it comes to remaking and rebooting a classic, I think. So I haven't got a chance to really get into your video yet, but I saw that yesterday. I'm like, wow, the timing is kind of funny considering she had just said that crap the other day. I don't know if you saw that article, but
no, but I did that interview like last summer, like months ago, and they just kind of like, I was telling you before we started that Film Courage will kind of interview me for like 3 hours. I'm physically drained by the end because I'm just constantly, ranting, and so it's kind of draining. And then they just cut it up into these little things. So that was done a while ago, which is like, it's almost sad to me that like, oh, that's still relevant, I guess. Right. Like, but we'll see. I mean, the new Ghostbusters is coming out, right? Afterlife. And then there's, if I could throw in and recommends, it might be too early for that, but there's a documentary.
Never too early.
Never too early.
There's a documentary. It might already be out. It's called Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters.
I have it.
You have
amazing.
It. Wow. It's such a great doc if you have not seen it. There's stuff I learned in that doc I never knew about Ghostbusters. And I've like gotten the DVDs and, watched all the extras. I mean, they spent 10 years working on that documentary, grabbing interviews here and there. I mean, Harold Ramis is in it, right? Like, which is awesome. They asked Bill Murray to be in it. and they've got footage of them asking, and then Bill Murray just never did the actual interview. But the stuff that I learned in that, like, and I feel like an idiot, like, why did I not know that? Like, the Marshmallow Man at the end, there's a continuity error where he's not wearing the tie when they.
Yeah, I never noticed that either.
And I was like, what? In terms of, and also like how they've developed, Slimer.
Right.
So much work went into that. And the fact that they were inventing all these practical effects. It's like, well, we're capable of this, so I guess we should try this.
Oh, it was a great documentary, yeah.
And the other thing that blew my mind too is the fact that it wasn't called Ghostbusters when they started shooting.
Yeah.
Like what were some of the other names, Tom?
Well, this is something, because this is what pissed me off about it, because I got the documentary like late last year. And right after I got done watching it, I think the first thing I did was message Andre. I'm like, son of a bitch. I wish I had seen this before we did our Ghostbusters retrospective.
Oh, wow.
Because there's, like you said, there's just so much stuff that you never knew. But while the big problem is Ghostbusters was actually owned by Filmation, the name, because they had the TV show in the 70s. So they were like bouncing around names like Ghost Breakers and Ghost Stoppers. And, there was a few other ones they were kind of in between, but like they really were hung up on Ghostbusters. But like when they got to New York and started filming in New York, Ivan Reitman called the studio and said, look, we've got over 100 some extras sitting here screaming Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters. You better get the fucking rights to that or we're screwed.
Well, even when they did, We're Here to Believe You, that fake commercial.
Yeah.
They did a bunch of different takes using like Ghost Breakers, they were like, well, because they hadn't figured it out yet. I mean, they hadn't gotten the legal clearance, which is so hilarious. Like in retrospect, but that doc, it just came out digital, I believe this week. It's called Cleaning Up the Town, Remembering Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And you can get it on Blu-ray as well. I think it says it's like region B or whatever, but it's region free. I tested it. So yeah, you can, you can get it for a pretty decent price. So yeah, Chris recommends. Check out Cleaning Up the Town.
Love it.
Absolutely. We got a couple super chats I'm going to grab here real quick. I don't know if I got all of them because Andre's off dealing with children, but he will be back and we can make sure we catch them all. But there's a few I can grab here. We have Etienne Fellador, who's been a member for 6 months as an edgelord, and he has a message here and a question. Do we know how much they are spending on that Game of Thrones prequel and how much per episode and what kind of returns they need? Offhand, Etienne, unless Chris knows, I don't know specifically, but I know this was like the 3rd or 4th show they tried filming, like, because like there was 2 of them that they ended up not picking up, and then they made them redo the other one. And when Andre gets back here, he knows more about this Game of Thrones thing, because I actually know somebody who knew a few things about it, and I'm like, I know nothing about Game of Thrones, so I threw it all to Andre. Do you know anything about the Game of Thrones business going on, Chris?
I don't, not in terms of the budgets and the numbers. Those other failed projects, I mean, I don't know. To get to this, I mean, that trailer dropped yesterday.
Yeah, that or this morning, something like that.
It looks okay. I mean, the fact that it takes place 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones is like, well, I guess there'll be no real direct connections to Game of Thrones, or at least, where are the threads? I mean, I guess this is, the seeds of the beginnings of Game of Thrones. So we'll see. What I'm really curious, which has never come out, is the very first Game of Thrones pilot episode that they scrapped, where they had a completely different cast. Do you know about that?
Are you talking about the Red Moon one or whatever, or are you talking
about
different
original Game of Thrones series?
Oh, the original. Yeah. Andre mentioned that.
Original, they did a pilot. It was a different cast. They scrapped it, and then they basically remade the episode with a whole new cast, which is so weird. Like, you hear about those things, it's sort of like, with like Back to the Future, how they shot most of the movie with,
but this was the entire cast, right? Like everybody.
They I don't know if they had some holdovers, but
I can't remember.
I'd love for that to be released, even as just sort of a piece of ephemera, right? I mean, like, you can do that now because they're talking about the David Ayer Suicide Squad cut I think that's going to happen because
have you been hearing things about that?
Well, no, it's just, I just feel like it's going to happen. I mean, David Ayer's talking about it, right? Like, I feel like it's also would be some vindication for him because that first Suicide Squad movie was such a disappointment to people. I'd love to see what David Ayer originally had in mind. And you look at like,
if I could throw in a.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Let's hear Paulie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, going off of what Chris was saying, it's not just David replying as far as release the Ayer cut. It's it's the cast members, but it's also cast members from his other films as well. They're all pushing for it. At different times, you'll see these different actors with a tweet, with a post, all backing this boy up. And what he does too is that if someone says, "Hey, Joker would have been this way," in the Ayer cut, and then he'll say, "No, my Joker is completely different." So he's in it. He's in it. And funny you should bring that up. Yesterday marks the 20th anniversary of the release of Training Day, which he put up.
Oh, wow. Well, I think that the studios, if anything, that Sopranos movie, I don't know if you saw the Many Saints of Newark, or if anyone, or anyone in our audience saw it. I don't know what you thought of it, but it felt like a pilot for a show, and then they just didn't make the series. The reason for that is there was this weird sort of tag near the end credits that it's like conflicts that weren't resolved, or like, stay tuned for next episode. I also was not, I mean, I was a casual Sopranos viewer, and it just didn't feel like it, like, what is this show? There's just better mafia movie stuff out there anyways. But I don't know what your thoughts were. It just felt, and what that indicates to me is that HBO is like, hey, we made this prequel series pilot and we didn't greenlight it. We can just put it on HBO Max. I feel like they're open to doing things, which is why I think the Ayer Suicide Squad cut is going to come out because, hey, more content, right? And I think that it's possible you could see sort of a reintroduction of Game of Thrones, or a Game of Thrones special edition, like when they re-released all the Star Trek original series episodes where they redid all the effect shots in HD, which was completely unnecessary in a lot of senses. I don't know. Do you remember that, Tom, when they did that? Like, it just felt really weird. Like, okay, it's like, this is the original series. They're in HD, but they redid all the effect shots because they thought, well, they weren't good enough. I disagree, but
are you talking about the TOS or something else? Sorry, I got
TOS.
lost.
TOS.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Which I thought was, but whatever. What I'm saying is that these streamers now, they have to have all this content. So like, they could make it a special thing. Hey, we're going to show you the Game of Thrones original pilot episode, which I'm sure they'd have to renegotiate deals with the actors who did appear in it. And it might be embarrassing for them, right? In some cases, because, hey, this is how they didn't get the job. But I'd love to see it. I'd love for that, something like that to come out, right? Like just from a historical perspective, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw the oh, this is a really deep cut. Tom, did you ever see the footage that they shot, which was like, it was like test footage for Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, and they did like these test makeup. The test makeup is terrible, right? It's not anything like the makeup they ended up using in the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, they ended up looking like werewolves and shit. It was weird.
Yeah. Oh my God, they looked really bad. But and it's just Charlton Heston acting out some scenes. I mean, really terrible sets, but they were just trying to get like the tone and the feel of what Planet of the Apes was supposed to be. But the fact that actually came out and that we were able to see it is really fascinating. So I think as time goes on with this stuff, just to reinvigorate interest in Game of Thrones, who knows, we might see that unaired original pilot episode with a completely different cast. Like, I just think that this, and we can sit here and complain about streamers and how like things have just become content, but it does open up like a whole can of worms of like, hey, there's a way to represent or put in a certain context these things like the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, which makes them worthwhile. So I hope that the thing is this, whenever I hope that, it's like, I hope that there's a smart executive at one of these companies. And I think we know from past experience, that's generally not the case.
Yeah.
It seriously isn't. And it sucks that these people in charge aren't like, I wish they would watch shows like this, right? Like, and just get some sense of what the audience wants. I don't understand, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, you're 100% correct, because a lot of times the people I hear from and stuff like that are generally people who are like, yeah, there's not much I can say, but I love your work, I agree with you. And so that's the thing, they already agree with us, right? You're right on that point. So it'd be different if they drag their bosses in the room and say, hey, listen to this, but they're too afraid to do that, right? Because then they'll lose their job.
I don't understand. Like, this is a weird comparison to make, but the food industry, I feel, is very responsive to what the marketplace is interested in. For example, I'm not a vegetarian, right? But I have friends who are vegetarian or vegan, and they love the Impossible Burger at Burger King. It is an option, right? A meatless Whopper. Great, fine. Gluten-free options, they're available. More and more you're seeing, of course, there was the movie Super Size Me by Morgan Spurlock, and the sequel, by the way, this is another recommend, Super Size Me 2, which is awesome. It's actually on YouTube. It
is.
And it's, it's Super Size Me 2, and it's What the Cluck or something.
Yeah, What the Cluck, I think. Yeah, I'm 2 for 2 this morning, Chris. I've seen this one too.
Oh, that's great. But that, first of all, hysterical. It didn't get quite the release that it was supposed to, because Morgan kind of Me Too'd himself over some allegations. I don't want to get into that, but he's sort of gone off the radar for a bit. I mean, I've known Morgan for years, one of the most charismatic, coolest guys I've ever met in indie film, frankly. But that Super Size Me 2 is really funny, because it's about being just totally transparent as a food company, as a restaurant, where he opens this chicken sandwich restaurant, but is like completely honest in all of his marketing. And I feel like food companies are very like, oh, you want a gluten-free bun? We'll do it. Impossible meat. You don't want to eat meat, but you like Whoppers. We're going to make that. Oh, like McDonald's, because of Morgan's original movie, they put nutrition information on the side of, for all their food, right? You can see.
Well, his first movie changed the fast food industry as a whole, probably.
It did. So why is it that the food industry is so responsive, at least in terms of providing options? You're still, as a consumer, you've got to make, your best health choices for you. Although a delicious Big Mac once a month is something that I probably drunkenly, consume. They're very delicious. And the McDonald's fries, let's be honest, which also have sugar in them, by the way, is probably why they're so amazing. Clearly, I haven't eaten this morning.
Well, they used to cook them in animal fat too. Like, there's all kinds of stuff they used to do.
Coffee'd up.
Yeah, but it's the food industry is responsive to its consumers. We have not seen, and maybe there needs to be a Super Size Me of the film industry. There needs to be a documentary or an event. Or
I like this idea.
Maybe a documentary talking about all of, like, the FNT crew and yourself and whatever, like something that just sort of shows like this is a movement that's catching on. I think that that original video that I did is now like over 1.1. It's closing in on 1.2 million views.
Wow.
Why 99% of movies today are garbage. And I'm just pointing it out only because, to me, it's a testament to the fact that these ideas are taking hold on a mainstream level. They've become mainstream. I mean, Gary from Neurotic announced he's going to be on the Tim Pool show, right? Like on October 15th, on Timcast IRL. Like that to me is validation that these ideas are taking foothold with people on a larger scale. So why isn't there this responsiveness on the part of studios? Literally, if I was the laziest studio executive on the planet, I would see, what do people want? Oh, I'll just do that. You know what I'm saying? Like what was it like? It was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that like Amazon Prime, on the official Amazon Prime account, they said, what female reboot of a
Oh yeah.
series would you like to see? All of the
Right.
comments, we don't want
Yeah, it
one.
was.
No, please
Well, my
don't.
favorite ones were like Magic Mike and the Full
Right,
Monty.
yeah. Thank you. Usually the comments are better than anything else. Thank God for internet comment posters. But there's no flip side of that, right? Because no one would want that. There's no like, let's do a all male reboot of Bridesmaids. We'll call it Groomsmaids. No one wants that.
Oh, we already had that. It was called Bachelor Party.
Right, yeah, exactly. Oh, Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's all Paul Feig used to do, is he used to take movies that were generally guy-driven films and do a female flip on it. And that's where I said, if he would have just done Ghostbusters, but not called it Ghostbusters and just had it be with that cast about, women who have like this paranormal thing going on and they kind of have something similar to Ghostbusters, I don't think anybody would have bitched and complained, right? Because Spy did great for him. The Heat did great for him. So did Bridesmaids. But the moment you decide you're going to remake Ghostbusters, you might as well go out and say, I'm going to rewrite all of Beethoven's music and make it better. It's like nobody's going to think you're smart for doing that. It's like,
yeah, ridiculous. So I just think that it's been called the fandom menace in the past. And, I've been watching you all for a long time, you, Tom, and among others that I feel like I'm discovering new people all the time, thanks to shows like FNT. But this is a consumer movement, and it's shocking to me that more studio executives aren't waking up to this. Or the thing that is very telling. This is very telling, is the mischaracterization of people from this movement in mainstream media, either being quoted indirectly. This happened to me early with Film Threat back in the 80s and 90s. Mainstream magazines would talk about stuff that we were saying in Film Threat, but they would never mention me by name. They would just say an alternative magazine said, and then never mention Film Threat or myself by name. I mean, I was a pariah in the 90s.
Well, you were a threat.
Yeah, well, I guess, but I mean, we were saying things then that people say now that took ideas that took 25, 30 years to take hold. But this really is, and thank you, Preston Bruno, for I'll read this super chat if you don't.
We're going to get to it whenever you're done with your point.
Well,
but yeah,
my rant. Chris,
we love your rants.
Well, Chris, my boy, I haven't seen you since the G4 days. You at least need to do a small YouTube channel that tells me what DVDs and Blu-rays to buy every Tuesday. I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Film Threat.
Yes.
I interview filmmakers twice a week. It's kind of inside baseball stuff for indie filmmakers. And thank you, Mecca J. So today, actually, there's an interview I did with a woman who did this horror movie called Slacks. That's hysterical. It's actually on Shudder, and it's about so it's SLAXX Slacks. This is another Chris recommends, by the way. Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
We still got to do the one from before yet, so be sure to see.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't.
We got three now. We have three now.
So
we have
Super Size Me
Ghostbusters.
Too. Chris recommends.
And here's
now he's got a new one.
And
the other recommend is Slacks. You got to see this movie. It's on Shudder. I'm sure you can get it on digital. It's the most ridiculous thing ever, and I love when a horror movie takes a premise and just buys into it, no matter how dumb it is. It's about a pair of killer jeans. Literally,
so it's like Sisterhood of the Traveling Killing Pants.
Kind of like that, but it's at this upscale jean store, and they're having this grand opening where they're gonna introduce this new pair of jeans you can get. And of course, there's this little subplot of these jeans are made in some foreign country by slave labor, and they're haunted, right? So there's a little sort of but it's not done in an annoying woke way. It's sort of they took it. It's just it's just sort of underneath the surface, when really interesting ideas kind of weave themselves in organically into the plot, but don't hit you over the head with some big message. It's there, but it's not enough. And then the jeans come to life and, of course, murder people in hysterical ways. And Yeah,
Oh, that sounds awesome.
really funny. So I interviewed the director. It's on the Film Threat YouTube channel. Go there now. Slacks. And I do these little like short interviews with filmmakers. We also review movies, and then we do. I need to start doing like my own live stream.
Yes.
Every week, and I thought of a name for it. Can I run it by you, Tom?
Please.
Okay, I'm thinking of calling it Hollywood on the Rocks.
I like it.
And then I would just drink during the show.
Hey, I'm game. If you need a producer, let me know. Mike and I will help you out.
I would like to, because I have some friends that are like, oh, I'd like to like, and it's just like, I don't want to make it about me, but like I would host it, and it would just be I have to schedule it on a day where I'm not conflicting with other shows I watch.
Right.
Which are a lot.
Well, I'm sure you can find a time though.
True. Anyways, no, I'm sorry.
I'm totally for that. What was that?
I'm sorry. We have some super chats. I know.
No. Don't apologize at all. That was another recommendation for Slacks. Chris recommends. It almost sounds like the movie that Teeth should have been, because I enjoyed Teeth, but it was like half the time the movie didn't seem to know what it wanted to be, whether it wanted to be a comedy or a straightforward horror movie.
Well, this movie knows exactly what it's.
That's what it means.
Trying to be ridiculous, over the top. It's got this little message underneath that's not over. It's not overbearing or over like, preachy. It's just, and that is a thing, right? Like a lot of clothes are made overseas, by labor that is questionable. Like that is a real thing that we're all aware of. Yet people go to Zara or whatever and get their clothes, or TJ Maxx or H&M. I don't know. These are stores that I am aware of.
It's kind of like a lot of the social activists who are, griping online without thinking about where their phone that they're griping on was made.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hypocrisy, or the sort of lack of like sort of deeper thinking about all this, and that you're actually participating in that, is ridiculous. But and also the movie is like 70 minutes too, which I love. Whenever this is a thing for me, is like I'll look and it's like, oh, all right, how long is this movie?
Me too.
Like I just watched, this is coming out, I think October 15th. Here's going to come another recommend.
Awesome.
It's called Smoke and Mirrors, and it's a documentary about Tom Savini that has been, it's got to be
sold.
A decade or more in the making. Stuff I never knew about Tom Savini. And I was directed by Tom Savini as a featured zombie in his remake of Night of the Living Dead. And so I can point to like, I'm in the scene there. I'm on the video box. Like it was great. I slept on the couch. I slept on the couch of the special effects team. They just let me sleep on a couch. I went to zombie school. I've got a little certificate that says I was in the movie. I learned a lot about filmmaking, being on the set for like 2 weeks, and just hung out and got drunk with like Patricia Tallman and Tony Todd. It was great. I wrote a story in Film Threat magazine about it years ago. And so this documentary, I didn't realize. So like everyone on the set was like, Tom is like, he was like in a bad mood. He was like not having a good time. He was sort of like distant. And I was like, what's wrong with him? Well, come to find out years later, I'm watching this documentary, Smoke and Mirrors. Like 5 days before they started shooting, his wife filed for divorce.
Oh man.
And wife, which soured the entire shoot on him. And what's amazing also about this doc is he showed what the original ending was supposed to be for it. And he showed like storyboards of like what his intention was, but he kept getting like, cut back like budget wise, or just like, cutting days on the shoot. I got to meet George Romero on that set, which was really cool. Because I was friends with his personal assistant at the time, a guy named JJ.
Part of the reason Savini made it was so that he could finally get paid for it.
Right. Yeah. Somehow about securing rights. Although they just read, this isn't a recommends. This is only, I'm aware that it exists, is that they did
it's funny you're mentioning this,
shot for shot animated version of Night of the Living Dead. It just came out from Warner Brothers, I believe.
I just talked about it to Andre just before you got here, because I'm like, I was excited for this, and then I watched the trailer and I'm like,
I saw the trailer too, and I was just like, okay, this could have been a good idea, but just like everyone thinks they want to put their personal stamp on it, and it's like, I'm just aware of it. I'm not recommending it. I'm saying check out the trailer and make your own decision.
Yeah, I would say the same, but I want to see Smoke and Mirrors, so can't wait till that comes out. Chris recommends.
I can strongly recommend. It's 90 minutes, and actually, I'm interviewing Tom Savini this Friday. I don't know when I'm posting.
Sweet.
So I get to interview Savini and the director of the documentary. So if you go to my, just to circle back to, I hate that that's now a term. Circle back to that comment. Like, I do have a channel, but I feel like I'm almost better on other people's channels in terms of like, you give me the freedom to say what I want. And on my channel, I'm like, I don't want to make it about me, right? I want to make it about the filmmaker who's my guest on the show. So you'll see some interesting conversations that I get in with filmmakers. There's a really good one I did recently with a guy named an underground filmmaker that no one's ever heard of, called Damon Packard. I mean, maybe you have heard of Damon Packard.
Yeah.
But he's done like these really weird movies, like called Space Disco. And he did like this fake behind the scenes of the making of Star Wars Episode 1, where he puts himself in the movie talking to George Lucas. It's actually really funny.
I think I might have seen that one.
Yeah. So Damon Packard, I did this like hour-long interview with him. That's on the Film Threat YouTube channel, which is, I think some of your listeners might enjoy that conversation, but I mainly interview filmmakers. So, sorry for the rant, but
no, it's awesome.
Paulie gets to finish his coffee, and you get to get some coffee. And now
that's all right, because now you're here and you're the guest. So feel free to run away.
Yeah, as Dr. Coffin-Nail says, animated the hell. Yeah, that was the problem. I saw it and I'm like, this looks like Flash animation.
Yeah, it's cheap.
What the shit. Brian Barth has a question for you, Chris. Is it true that you gave Charlie Sheen guinea pig too? I don't know what that means.
Oh, wow. First of all, that's an extremely deep cut.
I was thinking so.
That is a true story. That is a true story. And that's a thing also where I was never mentioned in the media. Maybe actually that's a good thing. So if you want to hear that story, oh my God. So yeah, so
we want to hear that story. Tell us about your Charlie Sheen and the guinea pig.
So I was friends with a guy named Adam Rifkin, and I am still friends with Adam Rifkin today. Adam Rifkin made a bunch of like, just his movies were weird. He made a movie, I think the first movie, he did a movie called The Invisible Maniac, which was just sort of an exploitation film, an excuse for, scream queens to get naked. But he made the movie that really put him on the map is this movie, I think it's from 91, starring Judd Nelson and Bill Paxton, called The Dark Backward. It's an incredibly weird movie about a stand-up comedian who's not funny, who grows an arm out of his back. It's freaking weird. Like
He's a pretty prolific writer too. But
yeah, he's a prolific writer. He like ghost wrote Small Soldiers.
Yeah.
And told me about this. I think when I interviewed him, we talked about it, because I've interviewed
Detroit Rock City and shit like that.
Detroit Rock City. He did a movie recently called Director's Cut, starring Penn Jillette, that is freaking phenomenal. Director's Cut. It's fantastic. So I knew Adam, like when I first moved to Hollywood. He's one of the, in '89, he's one of the first filmmakers I ever met. He did Invisible Maniac. He did this movie called The Chase with Charlie Sheen,
which is a great flick.
So I used to give Adam like all these weird videos. Like I would get like bootleg videos. Like I would get like Legend of the Overfiend, like, which is one of the first hentai that at least, and oddly enough, I got that from Stephen Bissett, the guy who was the illustrator of Swamp Thing at the time. So I was in this circle of people who just traded bootleg videos. So I got like guinea pig. I think it was a guinea pig or guinea pig 2, which, to be clear, is a fake snuff film. It is not real. This is the snuff film that is not real. It is meant to trick you into thinking this is real, right? And I don't want to describe graphically what it is. You can look it up. But so I got that, and that was just one of in a pool of many bootleg underground weird videos that I would trade with friends. And Adam, I guess Charlie Sheen was really interested in these movies. So Charlie Sheen was like personally asking Adam, like, get me some more of these like weird videos. I met Charlie Sheen. He was perfectly fine, not wild or crazy back then, perfectly pro and polite and a gentleman. And I was lending Adam these movies to give to Charlie Sheen. Well, Charlie Sheen watches Guinea Pig 2 and freaks out. He thinks he's seen a real snuff film. He's so disturbed by, and maybe it's because it's like you know, a lot of these things, like they're at the SLP speed, which if you grew up during the VHS era, you know, that's like you could change the tape from 2 hours. You could get 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours out of a T120. And if the more you change, you know, if you increase the
lesser
speed,
quality,
lower quality. So I think that kind of even like, you know, would
added to the seediness of it.
Yeah, add to the seediness, or it is what I'm seeing real. So Charlie Sheen is so freaked out by this. He has a friend in the FBI who he reports this to. True story. Okay. So then this friend in the FBI contacts me to interview me. And it was this formal interview with the FBI. This is like now my second confrontation with the FBI. I'll tell you the other story later.
Oh shit.
It involves the movie Taxi Driver. And it involves oh my God. It involves the guy who tried to assassinate President Reagan. This is anyways, I have to table that because I don't want to dominate the conversation. I know that there's movie news we need to get to. Okay, so to wrap this story up with Charlie Sheen, so the FBI guy, he interviews me, and I like very clearly like lay out like this is a bootleg tape. Here's you know, like, where did you get this? And there's like I say, well, like, here's some other friends that I got these tapes from. I'm trying to be like honest with the guy. I'm also trying to explain to the FBI guy, hey, by the way, this is fake. The movie is fake. So then like the FBI investigates and they suss it out like, yes, this is not a real Snuff film. Nobody died in the making this. Months later, the television show Hard Copy, right? Somehow has this story about how he got from a movie magazine, never of course mentioned my name or Film Threat's name, which I'm happy that they didn't, is like that Charlie Sheen was getting a commendation from the FBI for reporting these underground Snuff videos. So a complete it was like a thing that made Charlie Sheen look like this good citizen, which was a complete perversion of what the real story was. And I was like, fuck this. Like these are just these, you know, it's sort of like, it made people skittish about like trading those films. There's more to the story, but yes, I did pass that through Adam Rifkin. And I guess Charlie Sheen at that time he loved those kind of videos. But the fact that he tried to twist it to make it like he's this good citizen from the FBI and that the story actually made it onto Hard Copy, I'm sure. I wonder where that clip is. I'm sure it's somewhere on YouTube. But yeah, not my first FBI encounter, and may not be my last at this point. So we'll see.
It's funny, like that story is so much like Cannibal Holocaust, as Annabelle Morales pointed out in the chat. That is hilarious. And for those that wonder, it was something similar that happened there, but there was even more serious, because there, the director of Cannibal Holocaust, which is an Italian movie from 1980, the director Ruggero Deodato, or something to that effect, I don't recall right now, he was actually hauled off into court, charged with murder, because the courts believed that the film was actually depicting legit murder of tribal people, that it was a snuff film. So they had to like find the actors and have them appear like and say, no, look, we're alive and well. This is how we achieve the special effects.
Kind of reminds me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Blair Witch. How many people I've had arguments about that shit with. It's like some people are that, you know, like I don't want to use the term ignorant, but they're just that naive, I guess is the better term.
I would say that that's actually a testament to the filmmaking when you have have made it so legit that people suspend their belief to the point that they think there's no way that this is a movie. Like they had to actually do this. This looks too real. This can't be fake. Well, I mean, I can't think of a greater compliment to a filmmaker, given the subject at hand, of course, than that.
Well,
gullible maybe, but
100%. But also, I think that at the time that those came out, I mean, Cannibal Holocaust and Blair Witch Project, we didn't have quite the amount of resources line to be able to vet these things. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of fake things that are, debunked almost immediately. It's almost like Let's Go Brandon, right? Like here we're being by the mainstream media, we're being gaslit in real time, like on a thing that we're seeing in front of our eyes. We're hearing one thing that is we're watching on television, but another we're being told that something else is being said. Let's Go Brandon. So it's weird. But when Blair Witch Project came out too, the way it was marketed in a way that like, is this real or not real? And they sort of teased, they played that up. I mean, I saw that movie like a year before it came out, and I was sent to VHS tape by a friend of mine who worked at a film festival, who sent it to me mysteriously, saying, what the hell is this? I watched it and I was unsure.
Oh shit.
Because I was watching again a VHS tape of low quality. There wasn't, a robust internet in the late 90s to be able to, vet whether this was real or not. So kind of funny.
No, I mean, I remember the hype around it, and
I remember it too.
They did a very great job of making it seem real. They had the sci-fi
genius
marketing. They had the web pages up. I mean, you had forums that were getting into the lore of it all, and it was just people were just eating it up. It just.
Yeah, and fun fact, that movie is the most profitable in terms of return on investment.
Yes.
Any indie film ever made. It was made for about $60,000 and grossed $100 million. It got the filmmakers a deal. Obviously they made the sequels, which they didn't have as much to do with, but then they got that television series on Fox. It was sort of an X-Files thing. The name escapes me at this moment, but I've interviewed those filmmakers. They're in a book that I wrote years ago called The Ultimate Film Festival Survival Guide, where they kind of detail exactly what they did. And you can get used copies of that on Amazon. But that interview was great because they went through like how they did everything, and kudos to them too. They gifted the actors like $1 million each after the film came out. The actors that appeared in the movie, and the process that they did to make it is really amazing. That's a movie worth revisiting for sure.
Yeah, it's still pretty good. I actually rewatched it not too long ago, and it's still pretty decent as far as found footage movies goes. It holds up, absolutely holds up. And also, one cannot discount this, that it was made in a day when, as you pointed out, the internet wasn't as widely available as it is right now. You can't instantly go into Google and look up, is this real or fake, and have the answer instantly. Couldn't do that then. Like, you genuinely have the question. And of course, it's obvious now after the fact, but at the time when that came out, I wasn't equally obvious. Well, and also, just to highlight what someone said in the chat, I saw Lindsay and others discuss Cannibal Holocaust, and because to add to the things with that, the human murders in the movies were faked. The animal murders and brutality was very, very real.
Well, that was you had that completely abnormal through most movies up until the early 80s. Because that was when they really started paying attention to a lot of that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of movies where the death scenes of animals are almost 9 times out of 10 real up until that point. It's sad, but true.
And speaking of reality movies and deaths of animals and stuff, I just want to highlight this super chat here right away. And it's a movie I want to hear your thoughts on as well, Chris. Kaiju King Gabriel wonders, Andre, have you seen the movie Trollhunter? Yes, I have seen that movie. That's a Norwegian movie. Not only have I seen it, I was at the premiere and I was having a beer with the Trollhunter himself, who is played by Otto Jespersen, and he is, as I said on Monday, he is. I'm not going to use the Colbert comparison, but he is a combination of a late night host and a performance artist in Norway, and he absolutely nailed that role. And I had a beer with him at the premiere, so that was pretty cool. Chris, have you seen Trollhunter?
Absolutely. Great film, really bizarre and special effects achieved on kind of an indie level are just really impressive.
The cool with that for Norwegians is that the troll designs in that movie are based on the designs from, I think his name is GoT, and he's the illustrator. He lived in the 18th century, and all the published books with the Norwegian fairy tales of trolls and stuff like that, they used those illustrations as inspirations for the troll in the movie, or the trolls in the movie, I should say. So that was pretty cool.
Wow.
And also that's the movie we spoke about on Monday, because the director of that movie, André Øvredal, he is right now filming a Dracula movie for Amblin Entertainment, the one movie that focuses on the seafaring road or the boat trip where Dracula is killing all of the people on the boat. I forget the title right now, but we spoke of it on Monday. And Mobile Recluse became a member. So
thank you so much. And with that, let's go through some of these super chats real quick. Here we got a few.
I sent you the list.
Yeah, so you're going to have to say the first name here because
of course.
I can't.
So just $10.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. Saying, as usual, a great start of the any day when says, "Hello, gents. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well," with a smiley and a diamond super sticker. And yeah, it is now. It is now when we have the greetings from.
And we had 2 in a row from Mr. Tickle Trunk. The first one says, "Get this man some coffee. Stat. Rant. And then he says, "Chris owes us 2 rants. We got nothing last time." Well, what? I think you got your money's worth this time. I'm not so sure about nothing last time.
I think I got a couple rants in so far.
He's just trying to fire you up.
Yes. I'm getting warmed up.
This is the guy that said, "This is someone in need of a coffee," because you said you're just waking up. This is pre-coffee. So that woke you up, didn't it? I mean, you certainly woke up now.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm definitely waking up here. I'm halfway through.
Get this man a breakfast.
I mean, that was the super chat equivalent of a Red Bull, wasn't it?
Nice. I'll take it.
Yeah. Then Hairless Primate came in with 2 pounds and says, "In my day, 4 UK channels, Star Wars, Indie, Bond each Christmas." Yeah, well, we weren't lucky enough to see a lot of that kind of stuff. We had to wait for that kind of stuff. And if you weren't there to see it, you missed it. And especially if you were trying to record it and you missed the first few minutes, that sucked. Yeah, especially if you didn't know how to use the recorder. Yeah. Shotgun Fringe says, "Hail Midnight's Edge, Tom. Your Shatner impressions are awesome. Probably the closest sounding impression I've ever heard of Shatner." Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Crimson Fang says, "Have you seen the Challenging Spirits channel? They did videos where did the river of slime flow? The equipment videos of the Ghostbusters and so on." No, I'm not sure I've ever heard of the Channeling Spirits channel, but now that sounds like a fun channel to check out, especially if you're a Ghostbusters fan. Are you any of you guys aware of it?
I wasn't until this moment, but now that I am, we'll check it out.
Absolutely.
I'm not aware of it.
You are now. Wow. Drive-by commentator send in $10. Thank you so much. Says, "I vaguely remember back during Smollettgate, there were Chan threads about an IATSE strike and speculation about how much of the business was fed up with woke. Also, some conniptions about the MPAA head." And with that, I think that's where we'll put a pin in the super chats, because that's probably a good place to talk about the strike. Chris, how much do you know of what's going on with this IATSE strike? What it's all about? Do you have any insight to it at all?
I do know that they took a vote, and my understanding is that the vote.
Before we get to the vote, can you, because this is a strike that to quite a few people watching, and like for instance, when the Writers Guild is on strike or when the Producers Guild is on strike, you kind of like know what that means. Certainly when the writers are on strike, but with the IATSE and everything like that, this is something that everyone in the industry knows, but not necessarily everyone watching from outside. So before we go into the vote, can you take us through in detail who are the parties? What are they fighting over? Then we can get into the vote.
Well, what they're fighting over, real simple. First of all, these are the people that are the craftsmen, right? This is the the soul of the film, right? We always the people that get the most attention are, of course, the actors, the writer, director, the DP, the sort of top level on a film set, right? And they're always top of mind, right? But to me, just having made films, filmmaking is a team sport, right? I always consider, the producers like the coach, the directors like the quarterback, the receivers are, who they usually like to showboat. Those are the actors. I'm making a football analogy here. I don't know if this is the best one, but there's so much support staff, right? And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the craftsmen, who
everything from makeup artists to the
exactly, hair and makeup,
boom operators to the Foley guys,
exactly, just like all these other on a film set. And one of the things, what they're fighting for, one, is there has not been a pay raise in, God, I'm sure there's an article, but it's been a significant amount of time has gone without a pay raise. There's
quite
one.
a while.
And two, these people on the film set are routinely treated poorly in this instance, right? And I know this just from having made films, right? There is a turnaround that has to happen. So when a director finishes for the day, or when an actor wraps for the day, the actor goes home. Hey, the grip and the crew still have to take the lights down and put them all away in the truck and drive the truck back. And there's all this sort of they've got to put, they had to be at the ready. So there's still these crafts people, their job doesn't end when the martini shot, right? The martini shot
They're
is
usually the first guys there and the last ones to leave.
Exactly, right? So the martini shot's your last shot of the day, right? It's that's when things are wrapped, but not for the rest of the crew. And this is one of the biggest abuses is that turnaround time, right? So it's they've finished at 10 or even 11 p.m. at night. They've got a 6 a.m. call time. Not only do they have to wrap up everything that on the film set so they can actually get home, they have to drive all the way home. And in some cases, especially in LA, it's just it's all over the map, right? Then you've actually got to be there at 6 a.m. You're looking at you might get 3 to 4 hours of sleep. Now, this is routine, and it's almost like these types of abuses are something that it's just well, that's working on movies. That's the way it is. But that in particular is probably one of the biggest ones, because it actually speaks to safety, right? You've got people wanting to just get in a decent amount of sleep. So that the thing is the turnaround time. And there are I'm going to tell you one of the weirdest pieces of advice I ever got from a filmmaker, and I can't tell you who told me, but it's what it is that thing is the thing that that routinely is broken. So it's there's sort of the official, well, we wrapped at 9, when ultimately what really was the wrap at 11 p.m. But a very famous big director, I asked filmmaking or advice from this director, who told me, he goes, here's what you do, is you get a really sexy 19, 22-year-old assistant with a belly shirt to go over and tell everybody the bad news. Hey, we're going to go overtime, but can you don't put this one on the books, right? So any bad news that's delivered is usually delivered by someone who's physically attractive. And then the bitter pill of that bad news is taken much better. Well, that kind of abuse happens constantly on sets. I might tell you later who it is. I'll tell you in the private, just between us. But I was sworn to secrecy on this, so I can't really. It's
no, obviously, we won't tell. That's our.
When I tell
wow. Yeah,
I
see.
Yeah, not surprised in the least.
Exactly. So this is just one of the sticking points to me. It's it was a thing that affected when I did my film years ago, my big fat independent movie. We had to wrap by a certain time, so that we ended up in one of our shoots, where we shot in like Lancaster, which Lancaster is like north of LA. It's like desert town, and there's a lot of shooting there because they're like these abandoned like motels and hotels that are like specifically for shooting. So we would just put up the crew in the hotel so we could actually shoot later, right? So that way, you know, crew got the turnaround was quicker. That's why people like to work on Clint Eastwood movies, because he famously wants to be done by dinner. He shoots at a reasonable time in the morning. He does like 3 takes of everything, just 3 takes. And then, you know, you're done so you can be eating dinner at like 6 or 7 p.m. and live kind of a normal existence. But for most film crews, it's 18+ hour days. So these kinds of abuse, and this abuse just goes on and on, not to mention, you know, not getting a pay raise in so long. So it's surprising to me that this has gone on so long. And there's so much production happening now. It really is sort of this golden age, like for people who work at that level in production. There's so much work out because so many streamers want to make shows. The thing is this, they're not willing to pay more money. So they're cutting deals and doing this here and there. So yeah, there's a lot of work, but the pay is garbage. So it's not surprising. I'm not caught up with the latest news as of this morning because I hadn't even had coffee yet when Tom contacted me to get on this. So you're going to have to, if there's a story that's broken this morning, it's going to be news to me. But I'd love to discuss it.
If I could interject for a second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We might have a filmmaker come on, but I'll Tom and Andre. I think he's got some latest updates on that stuff.
All right, well, we'll can't wait to hear from him. But I know they were doing a vote. You were talking about that, Chris. I haven't heard anything new myself, personally. I don't know if Andre had anything else other than that. I just heard.
No, I don't. I don't have anything new either. So we'll see what transpires as we are live here. But in the meantime, thank you, Chris, because I think that clarified a lot to many people watching. Because this strike right here is something, the way that it's been covered in the industry, much of the coverage kind of takes for granted that the audience already is in the industry and knows all the players and everything, which isn't necessarily the case. So thank you for that breakdown. And with that, we'll just await further information.
I'll just say that, like, if there's any time now to, you know, put a stranglehold on the industry, now would be the time to do it. If IATSE is going to strike, do it now. And because we're already experiencing, I mean, I think that we may be spiraling towards a national strike based on what's happening in the world. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to all the different strikes that are happening, including Kellogg's back in my home state of Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan. Kellogg's, all the workers at the 4 Kellogg's plants in the United States, all of them are on strike. So all of your Kellogg products are now, I mean, obviously there is product in stores currently, but in solidarity with them, I will not be purchasing Kellogg products. And you're also looking at, like, you've got this backlog of, you know, in Long Beach here in California, you know, basically what's happening is the disruption of supply chains. And I believe that what we're about to experience is spiraling into what could amount to a national strike where workers at all levels, because of the vaccine mandates, are saying no. I mean, it's shocking to me that here we are in the midst of supposedly a pandemic, that you have hospital workers being laid off and then replaced with National Guard. I mean, I didn't intend to spiral into
no, but there is a separation in Hollywood going on right now too, so it is kind of semi-related.
What I'm saying is production is at an all-time high in Hollywood, and if IATSE is going to have any sort of leverage, now is the time to do it. Now is the time to go on strike and you know, basically fight for better pay and for you know, just better treatment. And all of this is like, it's similar. I mean, I was reading about the Kellogg's thing yesterday, and just because I love a delicious breakfast cereal, So I actually have been eating the cereal now because I'm an adult and I can choose to eat cereal for dinner if I want to. And I've been getting this. I get nothing from this. I get this keto friendly cereal called Magic Spoon.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Magic Spoon, strongly recommend. It's a low carb cereal. It's low sugar. They use coconut oil in it. It's fantastic. So that's actually the cereal that I eat and for dinner because I'm an adult and I can make adult decisions if I choose to have cereal for dinner. But when I'm reading all this stuff about Kellogg's, you may as well replace what their grievances are with IATSE. It's like the same. It's like low pay, terrible conditions, right? It's I think that if they're going to strike, now's the time, and it's going to be. And I think
it's so funny that you. It's so funny the things that you say in regards to low pay, horrible working conditions, California industries, the movie in California. And I automatically think when you're talking about the food chain is how this is nothing new in California. I don't want to go down a deep hole here, guys, but just even with farm workers since the 50s, it's always been an uphill battle to have those same things that Chris just said. Decent wage, decent place to live. And this is the most prosperous state, that we're talking about, California.
No,
these, the healthcare workers. Go ahead.
No, it's just it's sickening to me that it has gotten to this place, and I do think that I mean, I don't know if these mandates have been enforced, but there are a significant number of people who are refusing to get the jab, right? Like they don't want it, and I respect those decisions. I think that there are people who have legitimate decisions, whether it's for health reasons. There are people who cannot get it. My stepfather is battling cancer at the moment. He's spending ungodly sums of money for cancer treatment and cannot receive the jab. And should his rights be curtailed because he is unable to get these papers or this vaccine passport? Should he be unable to travel overseas because of his physical condition? Should my cousin, who's recently married, would like to have children? She's in her 20s. She has legitimate concerns, right? Like I don't know if this live stream is going to be demonetized because we're having these conversations. Please, I'm trying to speak around all this.
We're not medical.
Yeah, we just have to. It very well could be anyway, but just have to say that we are not doctors and consult your medical profession, and we're just talking in very general terms about, without making any recommendations, just talking about the situation around the striking and stuff like that, without criticizing the Grand Emperor making the decisions or anything like that. So,
here's the thing that has not been mentioned. My friend Eric Weber, you should follow Eric Weber on Twitter. He and I started doing a weekly show Mondays on Twitter. It's like an hour, and we're using that Twitter Spaces just to kind of see like how to do it, right? Like it's like, oh, that's an interesting tool. We can have a conversation. Eric, just ERICK Weber. He has a website called Awards Ace, and he pointed out that the one thing they're not talking about, part of like that is buried in this, they're not discussing, is the fact that part of the reason for this strike is about the mandate. They don't want. There are workers in this union that do not want the jab. They just don't want it. And I believe it is, again, I believe it's a personal choice. Check with your doctor. But
good. Let's just keep repeating
Chris,
that. All I will say
I just want to say
Norway has
I had sent. Well, now everyone's.
Yeah, carry on, Paul.
We were talking about this earlier because I sent Tom that Hollywood Reporter article in regards to how really divided Hollywood is from the talent to behind the scenes on the issue that we're talking about. And you would think that from the propaganda is that they're all for it, whereas in reality, it's a big division.
Yeah,
And
Polly,
that
it's
article
called
just came out.
information. It's confirmed and verified true information from legit sources like CNN and stuff. So no P word here. So yeah.
No, but as you
Yeah,
sent
sorry,
this
I'm
article
trying
as
my
well.
best to navigate here.
No, I know, man, and
Yeah,
it's difficult.
exactly. Also,
And
when we're talking about navigation, for all the people who are enforcing the rules, those that, like, when you go to restaurants and stuff and they do demands to see like the proof and stuff like that, I just want to say to you all, it's pronounced papieren. You say that really loud. Practice. Roll the R. Papieren. That's how you demand it.
Yeah. But as we see here on the
But, you
screen,
know,
IOTC and AMTP are still bargaining. They're going to go 2 more days, it looks like, to avert the strike. So we won't know for at least another couple of days what's going to happen exactly. So that we know that much so far. This is as of 2 hours ago. So, Paul, you were about to say something? Sorry.
No. That was sent to me by Mexican Iron Man, and we're talking about a union that's what 130 years old, if not older. So this is a very this is a decisive moment, Chris. So I absolutely agree with you.
Well, and if this does actually happen, we kind of have an idea of how things will go, or at least what to expect, because we've seen writers' strikes before. We've seen other strikes that do affect the industry, and I think this will even take more of a stranglehold than some of the classic writer strikes we had, like of the late 80s, and what was the other one, like not even 5-10 years ago, where a lot of shows and movies just got shit canned because they weren't so far enough into production. It was like, well, fuck it, we can't do it. And people's contracts and stuff are come up and everything like that. And then, it could bring the industry to a complete and utter halt. Because this is something where they can't really get around this, right, Chris?
Yes. Honestly, I really hope it happens. I hope that truckers go on strike because of this. I hope that the workers at Kellogg's hold out. I hope that this spirals into a national strike, because I think everything that we thought Trump was going to do, Biden is doing, which is ruling by decree in a very authoritarian way that I find distasteful. And that is a kind way of fucking putting it. I think that these, I think it's possible also to be pro-vaccine and anti-mandate, which is where I stand, right? Like, I think you should make your own choice in conjunction with your doctor and with your own situation. But I don't think these things should be mandated, and I don't think that people should be discriminated against. I think that is wholly un-American, and it's disgusting to me how this is spiraled, and it's really up to the workers, all of these workers, IATSE, Kellogg's, truckers, the people who unload the supply chains that come in through Long Beach port, right? Like this needs to be disrupted to show the country this is not who we want to be. We're not going to move towards a social credit system. That is not happening in the United States. That is something that has taken hold in China, and it should not come to the U.S. We do not want our lives regulated this way. I mean, it has gotten me to a point where I've lived in California more than 30 years. I fell in love with this state, fell in love with the city of Los Angeles, and I'm sitting here thinking, where the hell am I going to go? And I live a pretty modest in terms of like, hey, I am fortunate to work at home. I am fortunate that my company, Film Threat, is comprised of like 30 people who all work. It's been remote office since the beginning, because that's just how we function, right? That's how you unite a bunch of writers from all over the world. But that this is happening is disgusting. It's just infuriating to me. And even with the mask mandates, right? We still have to wear masks indoors. It's all freaking theater to me, right? Like,
yeah, and again, I just have to say that even though there's absolutely no science to back it up, then consult with your doctor and all of that jazz.
Yeah, well, yes, I consult with your own doctor. I've consulted with sources, and I can tell you I've come to my own decision. But I will say this, in solidarity with workers, whenever I go to Trader Joe's, the people who work at Trader Joe's probably one of the best places to get groceries because it's not super corporate. It's not as corporate as say like a Vons or a.
It's pretty.
Yeah,
it's gotten up there.
Yeah, I like Trader Joe's. The workers they have to wear a mask for 8 hours. So in solidarity with those, I don't complain about wearing a mask when I go to a Trader Joe's, but there is increasing number of bars and restaurants that don't care, that don't want to be forced into being, jackboots and asking you for your papers. So there's an increasing, it is sort of becoming like speakeasies. We're back to speakeasies. And I know of these places. So those are the bars and restaurants that I will, I'll spend my dollars on, the ones that don't enforce these rules. For the most part, it's independent restaurant owners that are saying, no, we're not doing this. You try to destroy our business during the initial lockdown. We're not down for this. It's the more corporate chain restaurants, I would say, like your Cheesecake Factory or something, that are like just enforcing the rules begrudgingly, and they're not going anywhere, right? Like those, they closed the islands near me in Pasadena. I was disappointed about that because I do love their delicious tacos, soft shell tacos. In any case, yeah, their burgers are great. But all I'm saying is that this is really, it's overreached. I think we're at a breaking point. I'm seeing friends of mine that are independent who voted for Biden, who are like, I regret it. We're not even a year into this presidency, and we're seeing the world fucking fall apart. And I don't know where this leads. But every time I think to myself, well, they'll never do that. And then they do that. And regular, normal people have had enough. And IATSE represents that. The Kellogg workers represent that. People are done. We're freaking done. You have overreached. The people who worked in our hospitals who were heroes a year ago, the fact that they've now been vilified with this is sickening to my stomach, and that no one is speaking out. Like who are the voices even in the GOP who are pushing back? They're not. None of them are. And you're seeing this building anger, right, about this, that like, hey, you're not addressing the concerns of the citizens who are saying we don't want this. And they're not convincing anyone else. If their goal is to get more people vaccinated, none of these policies are working. Colbert can do all the dance numbers he fucking wants. It's not working for us. Everyone who got it has got it, and I don't think any new people are going to step up because the push is so hard that something feels weird about this.
Yeah, it's going to backfire.
The push is hard. The push is hard, Chris. You're so absolutely right.
It feels like something else is afoot. Now,
if I could just say two things. Can I say two things, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, we need more Chris Gores, more people that are still in California to stay and fight, to stay and push back, to stay and talk to neighbors and friends. I mean, this is incredible. This is very meaningful. And in a meaningful way, you'll find out a lot of people agree with our gentleman Chris here. Also, too, support and back up your farm workers. These people feed us. You talk you talk about a group of people who do backbreaking work literally to feed us. I physically couldn't do something like that. And from those organizations and unions to IATSE standing up, speaking out, this is a huge deal. So thank you for bringing this up, Chris.
Yeah, indeed. And we also have another filmmaker who may have a thought on the matter here in the back room. So it's my pleasure to welcome back to Midnight's Edge, because he's been here before. He's also been on Midnight's Edge Espanol. So welcome to filmmaker Alejandro Montoya Marin. ¿Qué tal?
Hey, what's going on, everyone?
Hey, Alejandro.
Meet Chris Gore.
Good to meet you, sir.
Chris, finally. Yes, no, big fan of your work. Gentlemen, how's everyone here?
Doing great. Glad to have you.
All well, all excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, how are you? And what are your thoughts on the strike?
I'm for the strike 100%. Like I don't belong to the DGA, but I work with a lot of union members from my fiance is a union member. My best friends have grip companies that work with union members, and things. There's always going to be rotten apples. There's always people that exploit the situation. And as a filmmaker, Chris, you must know when you're like, hey, man, we're beating the clock. And some of them are like, man, I'm not going to do anything, because they're getting paid regardless. But then you see the other side. And I saw that clearly on set just 2 weeks ago. I'm in Los Angeles right now, but I was in Albuquerque, part of a show, which I can't say the name. But you see the eyes of the employees and shooting all-nighter Friday to then wake up in the middle of the afternoon Saturday. Or sorry, all-night Friday, and then Saturday leading into Saturday morning. So then they have to drive back to Santa Fe, which is an hour away, then go to sleep or organize, unload, go to sleep, wake up at 5, your day shot. The next day you got to prep and drive back. Like, it's not fair, man.
So yeah, that turnaround is, that is
fucking ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the fact that it's not taken more seriously, because I believe that there's a safety issue with people being excessively tired, and it just, you're not going to do your best work. I think it's dangerous. The second thing is, Alejandro, I have a question for you. Is being on a set like that now kind of like going to the Emmys, where all the workers are masked and muzzled, and all the talent and top line, like the director and DP, they sort of do the sort of chin diaper, or they don't really pay attention to their masks all that much? Like, is there sort of like that Hunger Games, like elitism in terms of like, well, we're the upper level and you're the lower level?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Chris.
Yeah,
because they're actually referred to as below the line.
Yeah, worker. Below the line. Well, like it's.
Yeah, or to use a Game of Thrones, like the lowborns, the pleb. The pleb
I'm sure that there's sets. I'm sure. I worked for a company called Cameo, which is basically they organize that all the productions go test on time and do everything. And I'll be honest, man, I thought that Cameo did a kick-ass job. I haven't seen. I've worked on 3 or 4 sets recently, and I haven't seen the directors. Occasionally, because they have to say something, but they put it back. Like, they've been very, very well. They've behaved, or they've been considerate. They don't not that what's the word I'm looking for? Not that pretentious or uppity. Like, because I'm the director, I get to do this. And sometimes people forget and then shit, and then they put it back on. But no, none of that. Well, I know what a boring answer.
But I think it's going to depend a great deal from production to production as well. Like, not all productions are created equal. So what Chris is describing, I think you're more likely to see that on like bigger productions for bigger streamers, where there's more money and a much clearer division between above the line and below the line, versus like smaller productions, more independent productions, where you don't have that clear division, where everyone has to chip in on everything just to get the shots that they need in the time frame that they have available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I honestly, like, if I was part of Eva Longoria's latest movie, which is about the guy who created the flaming Cheeto, the flaming hot Cheeto. And take an example of what a great crew, and from top to bottom, bro. Harmony, hardworking. They didn't have schedules that were ridiculous. There were days that were tough, but not like the newer projects or some of the ones that, I was talking to you about. Very well with the COVID, very well with, everyone just got along. There was no air of superiority. It was pretty harmonious. Harmonious? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, when it comes to Hollywood crews, I mean, they're really, I mean, it's the level of professionalism is amazing. And the craftsmen, especially, this is, in IATSE, are so at the top of their game. On an indie level, it's a bit more of a challenge, right? But when it comes to, your Hollywood crews, I mean, it's really just depends on the production company, right? And like how the IATSE members are treated. But that scheduled turnaround has always been an issue. It's never been solved. And that's why people like to work on like I was saying earlier, the Clint Eastwood movies. I, for one, really hope that there ends up being what amounts to a national strike of workers just saying we're not going to, because the mandates are really underneath this. This is a part of it. Why do you think so many different unions are looking at striking all at once? Why all of it's such a coincidence? All these different workers in all different types of industries are all saying, yeah, we're going to strike. Like basically this is like push things to the edge. It's not as if working conditions and pay weren't already an issue, but on top of that, add a vaccine mandate and the fact that this is sort of giving license to just like, and these workers, these nurses that were fired in New York were fired without unemployment. They weren't given unemployment. Like, how is this happening? How is this happening in America now? How is this happening? This is like this. There is a worker movement that's been precipitated by these mandates that is going to backfire, and it's shocking to me that the you're not seeing any pushback or criticism from the mainstream media. I think the only story I saw was that, and not like I watched the Today Show, but I saw that someone reported that the Today Show talked about that there might be shortages in grocery stores, or this Christmas, you're going to want to buy your presents now because there may be shortages in stores of gifts. So buy your presents now. And that's because the supply chain is being broken. Now, why are people not reverse engineering? Well, why are there going to be grocery shortages? Why are we going to go back to the days of like toilet paper being difficult to find? Why are these things happening? You got to back that up 3 or 4 steps to go. There's a worker revolt that's happening. And the worker revolt has been it's been tipped by years, in some cases decades of bad pay and horrible treatment. And now a vaccine mandate is just the thing that's pushed it over the edge, right? It's like Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. All he needs is a little push. That's the workers now. Are just like, and IATSE is just one union that I think is just like done. The fact that the vaccine mandate is kind of buried in there of like, as like, that's a reason. I think it should just give everybody pause about this. And I don't think it's going to get, I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better. And I really hope that in the next couple of days that IATSE decides to shut down the industry, because it's a wake-up call that is long overdue. And I'm stepping off my
Alejandro.
Yeah.
Really quick, guys. Quarter Black Garrett is in the chat. He was asking what the name of the movie that you were with, the Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Well, the one that I was in was Flaming Hot. Yes, and it should come out next year. I completely. Sorry.
No. Yeah, we were just looking for the title.
Yeah, Flaming Hot, if I'm not mistaken. But I do completely agree with Chris about the hours, about the... I think, I honestly, like the last thing I heard, which is like what I said when I was texting you, Paulie, because, sorry I was late. I was showering, I like to be clean. And I told him, like, I don't know if I know anything more. Like, the last thing I know is that they came back with another set of... okay, well, we'll do this, but I have a feeling that, hey, that's not what we asked for. I think they're gonna strike.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, of course, and it's for a good thing, man. You know, I see that shit every day. I see people going to work and coming back, and then, oh, but we got to prep these things for tomorrow, and so that doesn't stop. Like, my lady goes and works for 12, 13 hours, and then has to come back and work another hour, an hour and a half. That's after commute.
Wow.
So yeah, man, it's tough, and they need to. We all understand that we're making movies, and you know, sometimes we got to be rebels or renegades or fucking to get something, but it shouldn't be at the expense of someone's health or safety. You know?
Well, and shout out to Quarterback Garrett for joining the chat there. Appreciate watching us and for that support. It's just, I mean, you know, Alejandro, when you're in production, you have no personal life. There is no personal life. It is one of those things where when production wraps, you need a vacation to recharge and re-energize, because it's so physically daunting. It's like running a marathon every day for 3 months, or 8. If it's an indie film shoot, it's on average going to be about 18 days. But, you know, for a studio production, you know, you're looking at like 3 months or so, depending. But it's, I mean, you know, you've seen it firsthand. It's like I say, long overdue. But I really hope that there's going to be a national shutdown and a national strike where enough companies strike that it like begins to affect everyday life. You know, like whether it's like, you know, at the gas pump or the grocery store, or things that like normal people pay attention to.
One worry with that, though, and this is something that many point out, like, I do not know exactly how it works in the States, but I imagine that you must have something similar or even worse. Like, for instance, in Norway, where there generally is very little overreach. Case in point, we ended absolutely all restrictions, all of them, 2 weeks ago. Like, so there's no masks, there's no need for any papieren, no nothing. And most importantly, there's absolutely no distinction between like one group of people from the other. No one is trying to say that you people that haven't done as you've been commanded are responsible for this thing going on. No one is going to say something as an unscientific lie as that. And no one that hasn't done as has been recommended, or rather, no one that have done as recommended have any reason to fear those that haven't. I have to be careful with what I say here, because everyone knows that the jabbed are safe from the unjabbed. It's the other way around. That's the issue. But we don't have any of like that distinction there. So generally, very little overreach. However, in the case of strike, and if important functions in society are at risk, then we have something that is called tvungen lønnsnemnd, and that is basically the authorities going in and saying, this is too serious, this has too wide-reaching consequences at this point, you are not allowed to strike anymore. This is your deal. Accept it, or we're talking prison terms. This is something that has only been used very, very seldom. I think like twice in history or something. Once was like a strike that went on for months and months and months on end until they finally said enough. And the other was when the oil field workers, because Norway is an oil nation, and then the oil field workers decided, hey, we want to strike, and that strike lasted 15 minutes until they shut down. So even in Norway, we have that opportunity where the authorities can go in and forcibly shut it down. How long will it take before that happens in the States?
Wow, I can't predict, but I think somehow it's going to happen before the end of the year.
I think we're definitely on the cusp of it. I think Chris.
Yeah, I think it's like we're getting right up there where you're seeing, like, to me, the canary in the coal mine is Kellogg, right? Like this is and Kellogg, we think of like, oh, it's 4 factories in the United States, sort of spread out, and you know, it's not a huge number of workers, but it's also a brand name people know, right? Like Kellogg's cereal is something that in the United States people know that cereal. It's something, kids we grew up eating, right? You probably had some form of Kellogg's cereal. So that to me is like something, it's like, oh, that's top of mind. There are other industries where this is happening. But what's happened to, I don't like, to me that what's upsetting is where's the outrage? There is a profound lack of outrage about these things that are occurring and the people who should be outraged. Look, if this is a workers' revolt, where's fucking AOC? She's supposed to be all about workers. Where the fuck is she?
Doesn't go with the narrative.
And I'm sorry, my apologies for the language, but this is really upsetting. This is really angering. The Democratic Party used to be about support of workers. They have long been abandoned. And
no, you're 100% right, Chris.
Where's the GOP standing up? It seems like only the independents or those centrists like myself, because I tend to vote for whichever party is the least crazy. And in this day and age, it's hard to fucking decide.
No, you're 100% right.
Things are. So
no, because we've been saying the same. We've seen this stuff already at play in the stuff that we talk about, right? Like, we know the tactics they're capable of. We know what they do. And we hate that there's this division and this separation, but you have a group of people who have infiltrated, they've taken over, they've tried to change with propaganda and input this shit into our entertainment. And it's just another arm of this entire thing, this growing and stretching and stretching. And I mean, what we've seen in Australia is probably a bit of a preview what's going to happen here. But I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of places where things where it's going to, when it pops off, you're right. It's going to be soon, I think. And it's not going to be pretty. And I don't want to get into too much of that shit, but like, yeah, it's ridiculous. And I think you're on the nose on a lot of this stuff. And as far as the IATSE thing goes, like Alejandro was saying, like, I agree with you guys, like 100%. These guys need to stand up for themselves. And this is the time and the place. I think you're right. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. No, I just had to take a second to unmute here because I have kids in the background. No, absolutely. I mean, you're not going to get anything. And my impression is that the production workers on many productions, and Chris, Alejandro, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think my observation is that many of them are kind of taken for granted when big productions are being planned. Again, not small productions, because here you have a huge distinction, because the smaller productions that have to squeeze every dollar out of everything, they know that they can't take any person on set for granted. They have to do everything they can to motivate, be there, make sure every job gets done, or they're not going to get the shots they need, and they can't go back and do any reshoots. It has to be done there. Then.
Well, imagine your Hollywood producers like the Harkonnen. Mm-hmm. You've got to squeeze.
Exactly.
Squeeze.
That's what I think. Many Hollywood producers, that they kind of take for granted the production people, and the moment that they become aware of them, then you have the Harkonnen attitude. You gotta squeeze them. Send out the hottest chicks you can find to deliver the bad news, to manipulate them to working a little bit harder. That's my impression, that they're completely unappreciated or underappreciated, and frequently exploited for the tiniest little thing.
Of course.
And it's really, really unfair. It's modern day exploitation, and there's no reason for it. Certainly not on bigger productions where the money is there. It's just that the people who are higher up, I think, would be much, much happier to squeeze some of the below the line people to keep a little bit more money above the line for themselves. And just to deal with that kind of attitude, that's what you have striking for in the first place.
Yeah,
so,
well, as I say, even if you take the politics out of it, Andre, what do I always say? The higher ups will always try to find a way to keep their money and make somebody else pay for it.
Well, everyone will. It's not just the higher ups. That's the fundamental
human nature.
But the higher ups are in the position where they actually can do it.
Well, no, but I mean, when everybody keeps asking us, well, are they going to spend this less on production? No, they will not if they don't have to. And it has more to do with, like the big top guys are not going to take 1 red cent less than what they're used to. The big actors are going to gripe and piss and moan when they realize the $10 million paydays aren't coming no more. So this is all going to come to a head even from the higher ups some point too. But no, the guys that are quote unquote below the line, they have every right to gripe and bitch because they've been taking the brunt of the shit for years. And now you're right. If they're sitting there going, well, we're going to have to not only have this mandatory this and mandatory that, and you're going to be taking pay cuts and working more hours, I'd be like, well, fuck you too. Especially after we're coming out of a year where everything was shut down and a lot of people lost their fucking jobs to begin with.
And now the market is booming, which is true. Now is actually the time to do it because now it's booming. There are more positions than ever, but that also means that the production people, they have less power individually than they've ever had before, but they have all the more power as a group. So as a union, now is their biggest opportunity for influence ever, especially with the screamers or the streamers screaming for content. Now you see why I messed that up.
Good save.
So yeah, now is the absolutely is the time. If there ever was a time to act on something, this is it. It absolutely
is. You're 100% right.
I 100% agree. Like, now is the time. It's going to be I think the next 6 weeks are going to be really critical here in the United States because we're in a battle. Andre, I envy you. Your country is very wise, and it's like, taking a look at this problem and saying, let's look at the science. It's not about the science. It's about how it's being interpreted.
Exactly. This is actually incredibly dangerous when someone says the science. It's an incredibly dangerous phrasing, and that phrasing actually suggests that the people using it are going to be using anything but.
Well, what it's suggesting is that the point they're making is inarguable. And that is not the case. And the fact that sober-minded debate is being suppressed is...
I just had this conversation with my girl, Chris.
Yeah, it's just like, we can debate about the science of getting COVID and all that stuff, but it's also like, we can also react differently. And we may have, through these lockdowns and all these like horrible policies, we may have just completely derailed our country. We have just completely derailed the economy. And California hasn't really felt the effects yet, as more and more people, every couple weeks, I find out a friend who's leaving the state of California, and not just a friend like, oh, they were here for a little bit. No, people who've been here for decades and own homes that are like, I can't be here anymore. I'm not going to live in a state with such a high tax rate. It's not livable. I'm tired of being, walking around like fairly what used to be safe parts of Los Angeles and being accosted or just like turning into
Chris?
San Francisco.
No, you just disappeared for a second there.
Oh, I did?
So, yeah, you must have said something horrible.
Oh, did I?
I think that was just on your end, Andre, because he was doing fine on mine.
Oh, okay. Or maybe it was my end then.
Maybe it was just a hiccup on yours.
I think he was all right. And
I feel like
I think you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Chris. But here is where we can have sane discord. FNT, all Tom's channels, and Midnight's Edge Espanol, all the other ones that everyone here is in the chat supporting, chatting, giving super chats to. That's what it's all about. And thank you guys so much, because we don't need to agree on in fact, it's better that we don't agree on everything, but we have great discussion, and we can have discussions about many topics.
I agree. That's the whole point. It's that you don't agree, but you're allowed to have the discussion. That is the beauty. That's when good decisions are made. And what I find so disturbing is you'll notice like all of the stuff I have to say, we're not doctors and we're not making recommendations. We have to jump through all of these hoops because that's under threat here. Or it's not only under threat, it's already lost. And we have rules to deal with in order, though, like we can't say anything we want, because then the stream is going to get shut down live. Like it's just going to end.
Like, and that's the sad part about it is like, yes, it's nice that we have this platform and we're able to talk about things and we are able to have discourse. But unfortunately, we're in a time right now, and this is insane that I never thought that I would get to this point. Because I mean, I've worked in radio. I get it. You can't just go out and say shit, fuck shit on the radio. But I could talk about a lot of the things that I would never be able to talk about on YouTube. That's insane. Like, I can come out here and go fuck shit, fuck all day long. But I can't turn around and say, you know, I think it's a bunch of horse shit about this, that, and the other. Because if I say
be careful what you say now.
Exactly, and exactly my point. And that's why I said this, that, and the other, because exactly that. Like the Google monster will come after me, and it's crazy. We've seen a lot of shit happen though in the last few weeks. We've seen a lot of shit happen in the last few days.
Yeah, last few, or even today. I mean,
exactly.
It was like this huge Twitch hack. So like things are definitely like.
Well, and then with Facebook yesterday and all that business, it's getting crazy. And as far as this goes, I think there's one area, and I think maybe Chris and the rest of you, this is kind of where you're going with it, is like, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on, I think there's one thing we all can agree with. Is once the government starts telling us what we should do, period, and it's mandated, that takes away our freedom. And what that is, I think we all can agree on, is we have freedom of choice. And once you take that away from us, there is no such thing as freedom then. Like, that is the bottom line. And I think we all can agree on that part, is this needs to really kind of come to a head. And I think it is. And it's a lot of things that are coming to a head with it in like this tidal wave all at once. And it's not a bad thing, I don't think. It's going to get rocky, but it's what we need.
Well, I think the elites underestimate how much people are against all of this. We've all experienced the "Let's Go Brandon" chants that have occurred at stadiums and concerts all over. There's new footage of that daily. I saw back home in my home state of Michigan. There was a parade for, I guess Biden went there for something. And I couldn't believe the amount of like the signs and the chanting and the like, this is not a small isolated thing. It's just funny to see so many people united. I think we're going to end up with something that'll be akin to Endgame, where you're going to see the portals open up and BLM and Antifa and the Proud Boys and people in MAGA hats are all going to join together because we're all against this. I mean, it was unbelievable how the stories were suppressed about BLM protesting the vaccine mandates and the vaccine cards in New York City. It's straight up discrimination, and that's not what America is about. So it's just, I can foresee a thing where people that you'd never think would be joining forces are joining forces, but it's mainly because this is really it's turning into a class war. I mean, the elites want to turn it into, sow the seeds of racial division, and that's not what this is about. I mean, they do that, of course, around every election. Something like that is stirred up. So because whether you realize it or not, we're all tools in this, right? Emotions are being stirred to be influenced in not the best intentions, but this has brought things to a head. And that just as long as, look, I paid attention to presidential politics since I was a little kid. I found it fascinating. I watch every presidential debate. That speech that Biden gave right before 9/11, it was when he announced the vaccine mandate, is one of the worst speeches I've ever seen a president give in history since I have been alive. And I'm fucking old. That's why they call me the ancient one. I'm just older than Gary Beekler from Nerdrotic. So I'm just saying, what I'm saying is that, like, that speech convinced no one. It's further dividing. And it was like watching a king trying to tell us all what to do. Horrible, disgusting. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right. I love that meme. I know, right? Great. But unfortunately, I got to bail. Just have other obligations. But I'm just, please keep discussing this. Fight the good fight. I think we're going to see what plays out in the next couple of days. I'm sure, Tom, you'll be discussing it on FNT this Friday. I'll be watching, and I think I'm scheduled to join you on the 15th on FNT with Chrissy Miller. So, and that'll be a fun one because it's going to be a little different that day. But thank you so much for including me in the conversation. I think we reached a tipping point. I think people need to be angry and openly angry and start pointing this stuff out and talking to people, because this is a battle we need to fight. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I have to go.
No, we love you, Chris, and we always love to have you here. As I say, I want to be like you when I grow up. And no, you're always welcome. And I'm sure I'll be in touch real soon.
Well, thank you, Tom, Andre, Alejandro,
Chris.
Paulie, great as always. Oh, mismo, same.
Take care, Chris.
My man.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Later. Bye.
Yeah, take care, Chris. Thanks for joining us today. Man. So yeah, well, I
he started the fire and then he took off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, all I'm going to say about it before we ring it in, before we get shut down here, is people are obviously fired up.
Yeah, and we got some
watching from outside with very good reason. But yeah, Tom, you were saying.
Let's get to some super chats.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah, Preston Bruno, I'm sorry that we didn't get to these before Chris left, but we'll definitely have him back again for sure. But Preston Bruno said, Chris, my boy, I haven't seen you since G4 days. You at least need a small YouTube channel that tells me what DVDs and Blu-rays to buy every Tuesday. He did at least get to see that one, and he did get to see this one too from Mr. Tickle Trunk that said, one rant down. And we got a lot more than that. Thank you so much again, Chris, for being here. And thank you guys for the super chats. We also had Kaiju King Gabriel, who said the term slacktivism comes to mind. Yeah, I think he was referring to when I was talking about, people doing it from their phones and computers and stuff that they weren't aware were made in China by 8-year-olds. But anyhow, that's as many super chats as I got, Andre, but I'm sure you got some more on your end.
Yeah, I can get that because now I do not have the full overview of everything that you've taken already. But I shall send you the rest here so you can go through which ones have been taken and not taken. So give me 1 second and I shall have those for you. Actually, give me 5 seconds and I shall have those for you.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, give me 10.
So Alejandro, while we got 10 seconds.
Yeah. Alejandro.
What have you been up to
recently? I'm in Los
fill
Angeles
us in,
right
man,
now,
whatever you can. Yeah,
Sorry?
fill us in what you can with the movie you just did.
I think Paul.
Let us know any details. I'm sorry, guys.
Anyway, now I had my 10 seconds. But yeah, Alejandro, what have you been up to lately?
I've just been here in Los Angeles. I'm developing a couple of movies as we speak and just trying to stay busy with finishing the reality show that we shot a couple of months. And yeah, man, just nothing exciting, just writing.
Yeah, well, that's cool. Well, we'll hope to hear some more about that. I'm sure Paulie will be in touch about it, and we'll have to talk to you about more.
Yeah, I would love to chat with you guys about it. And thank you so much for inviting me, dude. I think it was a great topic to bring up and to, let people know what's happening, because it's like they're saying, we found out during the pandemic that entertainment is key. And when they found that out, I think they pushed employees.
Yeah, and I think after this weekend, it's a good time to do it too with the way the box office has been going, which we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome. If not, if you got to check out, we totally understand. But
I haven't seen any of the movies, but I'm definitely excited to see a couple. So no, I can stay for a couple of minutes. That's cool.
Sure. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for sticking around. Mr. Tickle Trunk also sent in $2 more and said, rant quota achieved. The rest.
Thank you, sir.
Kaiju King Gabriel says, Andre, have you seen the movie Trollhunter? Yes, we already covered that one.
Yeah, we got that one.
Jillian N said, best pronunciation of R's name yet, Andre.
Thank you. I do my best. So
I'm trying to get better. And then Xenobit had a pair who said, you must look at it. I will not be alone. And I put that on screen for long enough so everybody knows he had the new Playboy bunny on his picture icon.
Oh, right. I see.
And then he says, you won't eat Kellogg's much after looking at this. And that is so true, Xenobit. Dalbin sent in $5 and said, the trouble with replacing healthcare and National Guard with National Guard is the National Guard are probably healthcare elsewhere. So Peter to pay Paul. Yeah, that's a very nuanced argument. We just got into a lot of it right here as far as the discussion wise of it. But yeah, it's kind of we're living in clown world, that's for sure. Things are getting a little nutty.
Get like a podcast where you can actually talk unfiltered.
Yeah, it'd be different. Planner Aspect says they need to understand we're free. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like freedom is partially about freedom of choice, and once you're to the point where you're basically you can't have those choices, then
yeah. When you're saying is it seems to me that they're trying to make you understand that you're not.
Yeah, very much so. And again, like I'm not trying to get into the political side of things, but politics have definitely spilled over into every aspect of our lives.
That's like the thing when everything. But that's why this is the only thing I'm going to say about before we move on to the next. That is why our entertainment has been ruined by politicizing it. You take something that everyone, regardless of where they stood before, could be agree on. Like everyone, regardless what you feel about this topic or that topic, loved Star Wars. So how do you break that? Well, you politicize Star Wars.
Because I remember when E.T. was like, vote Reagan. Yeah. That fell flat. Sorry. I thought
I was laughing, bro, but I was on mute.
I was like, oh, like crickets, motherfucker. Well, that's all right. Gosker Verlot is going to make me feel better because he sent us $20. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, says those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither, and I agree with that. And will something both. I think I don't know what he's trying, but it's a Ben Franklin quote. And someone who is vaccinated, this mandate is BS. Yeah, and it's one thing to have a choice of doing it, but like Andre said, everything's so convoluted. So many people don't know what is what anymore, and we can't even say shit without saying we're not medical workers, so don't take our advice. And
the funny thing is that people on YouTube who actually are medical workers, who are professionals, and who actually do talk legit science, they get taken down.
But what do you guys think of the whole thing with Facebook, since it's the complete opposite of them saying, hey, actually, they've been pumping hate and shit like that to divide because it gets more clicks and they benefit from it. What do you guys think of that?
Well, they obviously have, evidently. I mean, like those accusations are... here's
the way I put it. It's kind of obvious because Facebook already was like making every day like Thanksgiving, right? Like every day you had to watch your uncle getting in an argument with your cousin, and your grandma have to step in, and your fucking best friend had to put in his 2 cents. And it's like every day it's like sitting at the Thanksgiving table, and it's just like I've been finding myself staying the farther and farther away from social media as I can. I don't know about you, Alejandro, but yeah.
I have social media because of my business. I mean, as an independent filmmaker, how else do you let people know of the content you're creating, of the new stuff that you're working on? But
we lost him.
Okay, so it wasn't me this time.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I use social media for too, is just kind of stay in touch with people and for work and whatnot. Otherwise, I don't really use it for anything family wise anymore or friends. It's too much of a problem. But hopefully we can get him back here. Sounds like he was having some connection issues there. Diego I accidentally almost skipped Stephen Otten's here. I couldn't do that. Thank you so much, Stephen, for the $5, who says, hail Andre, Tom, Paulie, Chris, Wrenches, and chat. Apologies for my lateness. Politicians, have forgotten they work for us, not the other way around. Indeedy do. And there we got Alejandro back. Thank you for coming back.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry about
that. Glad to have you again. Feel free to finish that thought.
Yeah, if you had more to go on that.
What was I saying?
You were talking about social media, and I was agreeing with you. Yeah, I pretty much use it just for to promote stuff and talk to people anymore. Otherwise, I stay off it for any other reason.
It's obviously it is addicting. It is addicting. It is a way of you to compare yourself. It still could be used to good things like, keeping in touch with people, family members, friends from high school. Like I'm still in very constant communications with friends from high school and junior high, or friends in Canada that I haven't seen in 6-7 years. and it could be done for good things. But obviously, yeah, I like just last year I was like, Jesus Christ, like I would feel like someone just slapped me around like for a couple of seconds, and just it's so judgmental, and it's so yeah, it's definitely something that I mean, I can't say anything for certain, but I was always like suspective of that. It's like, why is there so much hate? Why is there so much like, hey guys, did we forget about like having friends that are not exactly the same? It's cool. That's fine. That's what
Well,
makes
here's
this
like the
country
thing
great,
with
right? We're all different.
social media is like removing the barriers, so that you lose the courtesy that you would have in a face-to-face interaction.
Right.
Since it's like you're not talking to anyone you know, so you kind of like internet trolling on message boards from one anonymous poster to another becomes more like that in general, and then kind of like the social contract and a little bit falls apart when everyone does that a little, or when enough people do that a little bit every single day. That's going to have a spillover effect into society at large, because you decentivize people. You decentivize from the normal cultural norms and boundaries, so that gradually become more confrontational and more fond of seeing people who disagree with you as a problematic other that ideally should be discarded with. And that's kind of like what we're seeing. Well, certainly what I see from outside looking into the States.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what I see there. Thank God I don't see it as much where I'm at, but I absolutely see it looking into the States.
Yeah. Then we had Diego Flores who said, "Oh, sorry. Go ahead if you had anything else to say, Alejandro."
Oh no, I just got a text message saying stop running water. Sorry, I'm cooking. I'm making some picadillo.
I was like, it's in my head canon, it's bacon. Diego sends in 10 Peruvian souls who says, fun fact, people who don't sleep properly are more likely to get sick and also have significantly reduced hand-eye coordination, something you don't want a guy setting the scaffolding up. Well, maybe that explains my life right now, Diego. But no, that's a very good point. And not only that, you have a situation where, not to go deep down this rabbit hole again, but we had a whole year where people are out of work, their sleep schedules are all fucked up, and they weren't doing a lot of things that help you get healthy. So I'm just
perfect storm is what we call that.
Exactly, yeah. STR Red Wolf sent in $10. Thank you so much. Said NBC News had an article out this morning pointing to supply chain issues, if I could speak, from lack of truckers to backed up ships to production issues. Still goes down to more people needed, pay them more. Yeah, very interesting. Sean Carter sends in $5, says, be careful what you wish for, folks. Worker revolts are how communism got a foothold. The current administration would love a national strike. They would, but
that's what has me worried about what I said about like. And if there's one thing that I've seen, at least, is that those people are freaking master manipulators and gaslighters that will jump on every opportunity.
Yeah. Naked Fame says Hollywood is revolting. Tell me about it. PU. Speaking of gas, and that's as much as I got here. So what else did we get?
Are you caught up on everything I sent you?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we actually have I'm wrong. We have one more group. We have one more member chat from Culture Casino who has a link, but he sent a member chat, and it says there will be many strikes coming. Corporations and monopolies create labor issues. None of the rhetoric from people that care, in quotations, about what the works is ever real. It's about power. Exactly. And that's kind of what we were getting to. Exactly. Yeah. And
you get the money, then you get the power.
Yeah.
Then you get the yayo.
The yayo. The yayo
you
comes
get the
first.
Oh, okay. The yayo.
Then you get the money. Then you get the power. Then you get the women. That's the order it goes.
Cuddles. Thank you.
You do it out of order, you fuck it up.
Oh, I thought you said sanitarium.
He said sanitarium.
Sanitation.
I said sanitation, not sanitarium.
No, sanitation. What's up? Oye, Tony, what's a sanitation?
Okay, we're getting stuck in Scarface now. All right. So yeah, what would you have for us, Andre? For other?
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Okay, I guess we got to do some more Scarface.
Yeah. No, I can do one here. Says these workers went out of their way to adhere to the mandates of the last 2 years, and their effort and kindness have been taken advantage of. And yeah, I think it's very difficult to disagree with that point. So I do hope that they will be very strategic in what they choose to do and not engage in any actions that can be used against them. That will be and that's kind of like what has me worried here. And then Mr. Tickle, yeah.
Well, I was just saying, going back to the Harkonnen thing too, like that's the whole reason this is, to me, more important than any of these other strikes when it comes to like certain other guilds and all that kind of stuff, because these are the guys that are, and I don't mean guys like men, I mean ladies and gentlemen and all sorts of shape, sizes, and all that kind of stuff. But my point is this, is that these are the people that need their jobs so bad that they're used to taking so much shit that they take even more shit, right? Like that's the problem here. And that's where I feel like it's about time they stood up, right? These are the guys that make everything happen. And if it wasn't for them, the actors wouldn't look the way they look or sound the way they sound, or they wouldn't have somebody there to build a set for them to be on, or any of that kind of stuff. So I think it's very important that these people get the attention they need, just like the healthcare workers and other people in America right now.
And also they have been underappreciated.
Exactly. All the other
for a very, very long time. And I don't understand how they've been able to manage, to be honest. Like those that are like production workers as a career, that you're fired after every single project.
Yeah.
And then you never really earn much money. You'll always be living like hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's some true passion and commitment for the craft of filmmaking. And there wouldn't be any filmmaking without them.
Yep. And then we got a couple more here. So let's get to these real quick. We've got...
You guys are speaking my language, by the way.
Well, we're glad to hear it. And Mr. Tickle Trunk says, the coffee is indeed working. Chris Gore activated. Yes, he was. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, Chris Gore and Messenger hot chicks for president. I can get with that. Lupu sends in 50, would that be Mexican pesos? I believe.
Mexican dollars?
Or is it Mexican dollars? It is Mexican dollars. Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much. Says, you will own nothing. You will have no privacy and you will be happy. This is the plan your leaders demand to be completed by 2030. Become ungovernable. Yeah, that's a possibility. Keep things going the way they are. Anybody else have anything to say to that?
We are not doctors and we do not recommend medical. That general disclaimer.
Yeah. Copper Indio says,
I do recommend.
Oh, go ahead, Paulie.
I do recommend Mexican queso and chips and salsa. ¿Y qué más? Chile rellenos, Alejandro?
I recommend
chile rellenos, enchiladas de mole.
Yeah, all that
anything.
Copper Indio said, to Tom's point, people need to take note of all these politicians that crackle about workers' rights, but are silenced when things gets real. Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's no different than pointing out the fact that a lot of the same people who are saying, oh, having an ID for voting, that's racist, but they're the ones who are demanding you have this little piece of paper that proves that you got jabbed in the arm. I mean, that's probably going to get me in trouble for saying it, but hey, it's true.
Or as they just have to remember to say it the right way. It's papieren. And if the people are too slow in producing, then you add mach schnell.
Papieren. The Norwegian Blue sent in €5. Said, when you can't distinguish between politics and entertainment, you know the not so proverbial shit is about to hit the fan. And that is probably very true indeed. And did we have any more that came in between then? Let me take a look.
Actually, well, let's us have a quick
If that's the
look.
case, then we're caught up.
Yeah, I think so. Then maybe we can talk some Game of Thrones here.
Yeah. Okay. So, Andre, what is going on? Well, actually, let's say goodbye to Alejandro first because he's got to go. Thank you for being here, Alejandro, and all your insight into IATSE and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. And,
thanks for joining us.
No, it was great. I'm glad that people were able to hear our thoughts about this and they can see the behind the scenes of what's going on in some of their favorite shows and movies. So thank you guys for hearing us out. Take care, everyone. Have a great day, and look forward to chatting with you guys very soon.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to talk to you again, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Check out peace, brother. Check out Alejandro's movies. The first one, Monday, was executive produced by Robert Rodriguez, and Alejandro is a great dude.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
We did a watch party.
Oh, you still do?
We'll have more updates on those very soon. But here's one of the things why I use social media. People, if you can follow me on social media, we always give updates on the projects we're doing. And this end of the year is going to be very, very creative. We're very happy with the stuff that we created, and we can't wait to share it with people. So if you want some cool stuff, follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much.
I'll get your Instagram right now. I'll put that in the chat.
Thanks, dude. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, and then Ghost Gervalot says we missed the super chat, but I could have swore I got the Ghost Gervalot. Yeah, I said that one. I couldn't. Yeah, because that's the one I stumbled on. Because
well, say it again.
Yeah, it says those who give up freedom for safety deserve neither and will something both. ISOE is what was written here. I have no idea what that is.
Deserve neither and will lose both. I would imagine.
That's what I think it means.
Both.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure it out. My brain was like trying to play with the letters there.
Well,
so yeah, we did get that Goscar Verlat. Sorry.
Want me to read this one?
Yeah. Yes.
Read
Paul,
that
you
one.
can grab the one on screen real quick before we get to the game.
But just emphasize all the time that Sean Carter says that.
Yeah.
Because we have to careful
Sean
with
Carter.
everything we say. Yeah.
Yes. For $5, he's a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Now trending on Twitter. Polly from Midnight's Edge claims queso and tortillas con salsa are, and this is according to Sean Carter, a cure for the oof. Word is Trump agrees.
Yeah, there we go. And then everyone also make sure to follow Alejandro on Instagram. The link is right
and
there.
You have to look, Andre. Krusty Moko says we missed one from him, but I did not get one on the ones you sent me. So
well, I shall
please do double check on that.
I shall see. I believe. Because we haven't gotten to them yet. Because so that is why I haven't sent it yet.
Gotcha.
But yeah, let's do these real quick before we move into Game of Thrones.
Omega Ment also said with $2, thank you so much. Great podcast, guys. God bless us in the last days. Well, I hope that's not true. I hope that's not true. And enjoyed that. So there you go.
Yeah, and Mexican Iron Man says for $5, great day, and check DMs for member chats because we don't have a repository for those. So thank you, Mike.
As far as I know, I have been keeping up with those, but thank you again, Mike, for helping me stay up to date.
And then Krusty Moko said for $5, great stream, rants galore, no more grapes. I support the strikers. So thank you, Krusty Moko, for that. And Hypergiver 2 says face. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old throwback to the United Farm Workers, their first strike in the early 60s, no grapes, because, they were just working for literally pennies and living in squalor. So that's an old throwback. Uvas, no grapes.
Yeah. Well, and Paulie, you might want to just like refresh or something. That might help with the delay because you got a little bit of lag or something.
All right.
Yeah.
And then Hypergiver 2 said Facebook got kicked off of Facebook, not following Facebook's community standards. Yeah, actually, you have many things like that. Like, for instance,
I think they're
yeah,
scrubbing some evidence.
not even. I was going to say like something pertaining to the EU and their rules for entry, but I'm going to refrain from it.
No, I think they're
And then
scrubbing
Omega Ment Entertainment says, "Great podcast, guys. God
got that.
bless us in the last days." Yeah, we got
Thank
that
you.
one. And with that,
We are caught
let
up.
us very briefly get into some Game of Thrones here before we round out. No, what happened is that yesterday, the trailer for the new Game of Thrones spin-off series was released, and that is the House of Dragon fire breathing prequel something. I don't even remember what it was. I was frightfully unimpressed, and to be fair, I didn't care because personally I thought that Game of Thrones, not just season 8 but season 7 and 8, were so unbelievably incredibly bad that they retroactively destroyed the entirety of the series. And since then, the powers that be at HBO have been desperately trying to do anything they can to recapture what Game of Thrones did for them. Because remember, HBO was, for the longest of time after Sopranos and stuff, the home of Game of Thrones. That was like the biggest thing that they had in their stable. And when they no longer had that, that must have been a huge loss, because they've been dealing with prequel after prequel after prequel after that. They've had multiple concepts in development. They filmed one pilot at a very significant expense, but they decided not to pursue it after filming the pilot because it was too woke, that they didn't think there was a market for it. So then they commissioned another pilot, and that's the one we're seeing right here with House of the Dragon. And that one is moving to series. And now we have the first teaser. What I want to know is, and here, this is a question for all of you in the chat, because just judging for myself, I don't think this is going to be that successful for the very simple reason. I think most people are so burned out on Game of Thrones. They were not burned out, but they were so burned by season 8 that I don't think that they're going to want to go back to that world for a prequel that still is going to lead straight into season 8. Here I'm curious with what you guys have to say in the chat. Like, are you interested? Do you want to go back to the world of Game of Thrones on HBO or HBO Max in this case? If so, type 1. Just type 1 if you're interested, and type 2 if you're done with it once and for all.
How's my delay right now?
What was that?
Is that better with my?
No, it's exactly the same, but it'll do. It'll do. Oh, okay. Here came all the votes. I see a lot of number 2s. Some 99. Don't see any 1s yet. I see pretty much number 2 all over. Yeah, this is kind of what my hypothesis was, that there's Paul Mata, he's interested. Regis K is interested. Script Doctor is 99% too. Master Clockworks is 69, just to stand up and stand out. And Olaf Van Ness says 0, as I have no clue what the choice was. Well, Olaf, if you are interested in going back to the world of Game of Thrones, then type 1. And if you're just done with it forever, type 2. Those are the choices. And I see overwhelming number 2s. So they do have quite a lot of marketing challenges here. Script Doctor says 99% of the votes appear to be 2, and that appears to be on the money. So, yeah. Kit Kat is interested in going back. Oh, that's cool. You know what? I think that the best thing that they could do is actually go back and redo season 7 and 8. That would
Andre, are you interested at all?
No, not in the slightest.
Same.
I couldn't care less. I mean, I saw the trailer and I couldn't care less. I felt nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a long time too since there was a good season for me. It's been years, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, it hasn't
they're
been
doing
good
what?
since season 6. I mean, according to who you're asking, for those that really know the books, it hasn't been good since season 4. But for those of
Hmm.
us who don't know the books, it's been pretty decent up until season 6, and that's when it went off the rails.
Yeah, I think I've
And
seen. I read most of the books, and then I saw the first 2 seasons, and I was done.
yeah,
Yeah, but no, that's such a long time ago.
yeah, and I think my hypothesis, and I could be wrong, but my hypothesis on this is that they probably shouldn't have made this prequel because I think that they lost the audience. And it's going to be very difficult to get them back again. I think the one thing that would really get the audience on board is if they were to remake season 7 and 8. Say that, okay, everything up until season, say, 6 is canon, and we're going to now redo everything from that point onwards. I think that's the way to win back the audiences. But in this case, a prequel, still a prequel that's going to go straight into season 7 and 8, and it stops there. So, yeah. KitKat says, nerds are not interested, but normies did not see that much wrong with the notorious season 8. I disagree. I think, like, much of the reading that I heard over season 8 was for normies. Like, it was like my colleagues at job that couldn't tell Spider-Man from Batman. They were like in mourning after season 8 of Game of Thrones. They were like, what the hell is this? I couldn't believe it. So I think that quite a lot of normies are the ones that are burned and won't be coming back. I think that the normies probably has a better shot at giving it a new chance. I could be wrong, but that's just my initial thought here.
And I've never seen any Game of Thrones, and I have zero,
Yeah, don't waste your time now.
Yeah, after now everything I've heard, what's the point? But I can say this to it, from what I know about this whole thing from behind the scenes, is this whole Game of Thrones business was part of the seed that sprouted into HBO Max and the whole deciding to do day and date bullshit, because they were so upset by how the reaction to the ending of Game of Thrones came off, because they had 5 spin-offs.
It was their golden goose
for HBO Max.
Yeah.
And those were meant to like be the thing to push HBO Max. And it was basically a non-starter now. And they were just irate and they didn't know what to do. And yeah, so out of all this bullshit, this is what I wound up with. So it's kind of funny. That's all I know about it. That's all I can add to it. So
yeah. And we got a couple of more super chats here. Joachim Stark says, Game of Thrones issue 2. I'm a good son. I persuaded my mother to stop watching after season 7. I wish someone could have done that for me. Yeah, well, I'm sure many feel that way, but at least you did that. Only I would say that you should have persuaded her to stop after season 6. And Hypergiver 2 said that if the Targaryens were any more Alabama cousins, they'd be a sandwich. Hypergiver 2 right there. So no offense to the good people of Alabama. But yeah, I think I see where you're coming from there.
Samurai Vader just got here, so he missed a lot.
Yeah. And with that, I think we have just about covered everything. So Samurai Vader, who just got here, well, you missed Chris Gore venting a little bit. Yeah. So just head on back to the beginning. The people in California, many of them are starting to have had enough. So yeah, absolutely rewind for that.
Yeah, and Paulie, we got a few things to say about a certain lady in your life, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is
hopefully she's watching.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. We're talking about earlier about our people doing stuff, and then you have brought up that CSI Vegas just announced they're coming back, and we know that Lady Slant, my better half, Romy Diaz, is guest starring in one of the episodes. and really excited. I'm gonna put her link in the chat. She's just did a Grey's Anatomy, and she's gonna be in CSI Vegas. And I remember when they were filming that, there was a lot of mandates and challenges that she had to do loopholes for just to be on set. So it's she's doing great, and I'm just so excited. And she's just very talented. So make sure you guys do me a favor. There's over 700 of you. If y'all can get over there and just hit the follow, that would be amazing. And then you can follow the career of a great lady. Thanks a lot, guys.
It was funny when we were this morning when Paulie and I were talking about this. I happened to look up to see when the show starts. Well, it starts tonight.
Right.
Which is funny because it is exactly 21 years ago to the day that CSI started on CBS. So it's really weird. So yeah, so hopefully we'll see her soon on the show. You said episode 3, I think you said she's the first one on, right?
Yeah, Under the Skin, and she's Detective Ortiz, I believe. Almost close to her own last name. But
so congratulations to Romy and all the guys over there at CSI.
Yeah, and then quick Midnight's Edge Espanol plug. There's a Spanish interview with her and Diego Flores that has been on the Midnight's Edge Espanol. If anyone wants to check that out, Andre, I know, is familiar with that interview.
Yeah, that was shown at a certain school class in Norway for the the students learning Spanish. It was quite popular.
How neat is that? Other than that, if there's some 4K fans out there, we got something going on later on. Well, I guess it'd be more like afternoon tonight in some places. But 4 p.m. Central, we're starting a new show today. I believe the title, if Andre's cool with it, is called 4K for You. It's going to be Valiant Renegade and myself and maybe Andre, and who knows who else will pop in over the show over time. But every Wednesday, we're hoping to talk about what's going on with 4K, technology, and movie news. We'll give our reviews of the latest things out there, and we'll take questions from you guys in the chat about all your 4K needs, I guess is the best way to put it. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be fun.
Wait. Hold on, Tom. You have a 4K show that I named you 4K Tom. Am I in the credits anywhere? Because I feel the 4K Tom is. Come on, what's going on?
Yeah, I'll give you credit for the 4K Tom. I almost called the show. Everything. I almost called the show 4K Tom, but then I was like, no, it's not just me. So yeah, Script Doctor 4K for You. Yes, exactly spelled like that. So hopefully, if you guys dig it, that's what it's going to be called. Otherwise, I have no idea what we're calling it yet.
No, that's a great title.
Yeah, no, I think we got it already.
Awesome. So hopefully we'll see you there. Like I said, maybe Andre will drop in, and who knows who else we may be able to come in on the show. But I'm sure at some point we'll be able to bribe Robert Meyer Burnett into coming in at some point. I don't know about tonight, but I'm sure he'll be interested in talking. So yeah, so come on and talk to us about that. We're going to kick it off tonight with a little bit of history of how we got with where 4K is now, and a little bit about the format and everything like that, and some of the latest movies and stuff. So hopefully you guys can join me in Valiant Renegade and whoever else joins in with us tonight to talk about that at 4 Central. So see you there.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And with that, sorry about that. I'd like to say thank you to all our guests, to Chris Gore, to Alejandro Marin, to Paulie for joining us, and of course to everyone watching, to everyone that's been super chatting and engaging in the comments and sharing your feelings as Chris Gore shared his. You have to be a little bit passionate sometimes. These are passionate times, and with that, let's all chill down a little bit with some koalas in the rain.
Gotta give me a little bit more notice than that, my man. Jeez, I ain't got it ready yet.
Well, but I really extended koalas.
You did your best, but you know.
Thanks a lot.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas